Welcome to the Forefront Radio. I'm your host, Afia Levi. I want to have a couple of discussions with y'all here on YouTube and do a little bit of more discussions here on YouTube due to the fact that TikTok has been going out of its way to censor me from speaking about things that are important to the diaspora community. I want to talk about how the black man is the father of civilization. I want to talk about how the Bible itself is black history. I want to talk about how we have not been taught the Bible correctly and how the origins of black people in general have been distorted, right? Let's go to Genesis chapter 2, verse 13, right? Because when you read the Bible, you can't get no more Bible than Genesis, right? It's the beginning of the book. You find out that in Genesis, the Creator is talking about the Garden of Paradise, the Garden of Eden. And in this garden, we find something very interesting that was made. The first human being, the first man that was created. And you find out that this man that's created is not a European. This man that's created is a black man. Let's go to Genesis chapter 2, verse 7. It says, "And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul." This is talking about man being formed by the dust of the ground, the carbon, the oxygen, the iron, the nickel, the hydrogen, the various elements that you see in the earth is the same thing that man was made out of. If you examine your bloodstream, you have something called the hemoglobin. Your blood, your red blood cells are connected through iron. Through iron. There's iron molecules in your blood cell. When you breathe in oxygen. The Bible says that man was made of the dust of the ground. So the deeper you dig, the darker it gets. The deeper you dig into the rich soil of the earth, the darker it gets. So not only was the first man formed a black man, this black man is responsible for all of humanity today. The Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. Excuse me. So I'm trying to figure out how we're reading here in the Bible that man was made of the dust of the ground. And we were taught to believe, based on Renaissance art, Renaissance imagery, that is talking about Eurocentrics. Well, that's a small segment of the population of the entire planet. You see, the earth is not just Europe. The earth is not just Italy, Rome. There are several continents all across the globe. But when you read the Bible itself, it didn't start in Italy, it starts in Africa. Let's go to Genesis chapter 2, verse 13. Let's read something interesting here. Genesis chapter 2, verse 13 says, "And the name of the second river is Gihon or Gihon. The same is it that compasseth the whole land of Ethiopia." So this is the river Nile. The same Gihon River is the river Nile. Can somebody write in the comment section and tell me, where is the river Nile? Is it in America? Is it in Europe? Or is it in Africa? Please write it in the chat for me. I'm trying to figure out where the river Nile is. Is the river Nile located in Asia? Is it in the United States of America? Or is it in Africa? So Let's read the Bible verse again. Genesis chapter 2, verse 13. And the name of the second river is Gihon. This is the river Nile. The same is it that compasseth the whole land of Ethiopia. 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 Last time I checked, Ethiopia is located in the continent of Africa. Yeah, Africa. So the Bible starts in Africa and not Italy. The Africa that people disparage so much, the Africa that people look down upon, the Africa that people disrespect, the Africa that people disregard, the Africa that people exploit, the Africa that people disparage, the Africa that people say, "What's your point?" The Africa that people ask, "What's your agenda?" The point is this: the Bible that's in every university and theological seminary school throughout Europe and America that you study begins in Africa. If the Bible starts in Africa, how do we teach that the important biblical individuals and the historical figures are all Eurocentric? Let's put our critical thinking hats on now. We're reading the beginning of the book. No one skips to the middle of the book and thinks they have an understanding of the book without understanding just the very beginning, which is the geographical location, the people, the area, the culture, the ethnic classes responsible for the region. So if you're reading that the Garden of Eden is in Africa and rivers are flowing like the Blue Nile and the White Nile that's going all the way into the deep recesses of Africa, you can't say Jesus is European. You can't say Moses is European. You can't even postulate that God is European. But many people in modern day religion believe Jesus is European. There's a problem. Anyone that does critical analysis, anyone that is a critical thinker, will appreciate asking questions. Have an open mind. Have a carefully thought-provoked mind that uses intelligence and reason and not emotion, not religious ideology, just history and what the text says. I'll go to another example. You see, all the people that's suffering from delusionalism, they ran out of the room. Thank God. Let's go to Amos chapter 9, verse 7. Let's go to Amos chapter 9, verse 7. Let's go to Amos chapter 9, verse 7. Listen to this Bible verse. It says, "Are you not as children of the Ethiopians unto me, O children of Israel? O children of Israel." Can somebody explain to the Christian pastor, why is God comparing the sons and daughters of Israel to black Ethiopians? Last time I checked, Ethiopia is in Africa. The lands of Cush, the lands of Nubia, the lands of Congo, the lands of Malawi, the lands of Nigeria, the lands of Eritrea and Ethiopia and Somaliland and all of these areas, right? Why is God comparing in the Bible the children of Israel to black people? Can somebody answer that question for me? I'm trying to figure that out. The Bible says, "Are you not as," meaning just like, in appearance to, in comparison to, Are you not as children of the Ethiopians unto me, O children of Israel, saith the Lord? Who said it? God said it. Not the Forefront Radio. God said it. This is in every Bible. This is in every Bible. This is in every Bible. I gave you the book. I gave you the chapter. I gave you the verse. The book is the book of Amos, the prophet Amos. The chapter is chapter 9, and the verse is verse 7. It says, Are you not as children of the Ethiopians unto me, O children of Israel, saith the Lord? Have not I brought up Israel out of the land of Egypt? Why does God have to remind the children of Israel through the prophet Amos that he brought them out as captives, as slaves in Egypt? You're not going to find any history whatsoever where Germanic people that converted to a religion that started in Africa were slaves to Black people for over 400 years. You're not going to find it. These European people that converted to a religion that started in Africa, you're not going to find where they were held in bondage in Africa for 400 years. It's not there. There's no history. There's no bones they could dig up. There's no archaeological evidence of European people being held as captives to Black people in Africa for 400 years, because that's what they want us to believe, y'all. They want us to believe the Ten Commandments movie with Charleston Heston. They want us to believe the Hollywood film. They want us to believe everything else but what the text actually says. Now, this prophet named the prophet Amos, this man was amongst herdsmen. Let's read Amos chapter 1, verse 1. It says, The words of Amos, who was among the herdmen of Tekoa, which he saw concerning Israel. Notice it doesn't say which he saw concerning the Baptist church or the Catholic church or the Pentecostal church or the Seventh-day Adventist church. He had visions concerning his people, the sons and daughters of Israel, in the days of Uzziah, king of Judah, and in the days of Jeroboam, the son of Joash, king of Israel, 2 years before the earthquake. So, this man is seeing a vision right during the time prior to the Babylonian captivity, prior to the Assyrian captivity, where the children of Israel were having disputes one with another. You read about that in the book of the Kings. Right after King Solomon sinned against the Creator, the kingdom became split between Jeroboam and Rehoboam. Now we're finding out that within the same chapter of Amos, in chapter 9, verse 7, Amos is making a profound statement that we have to pay attention to. Listen to this. Amos chapter 9, verse 7. Are you not as the children of the Ethiopians unto me, O children of Israel? God is comparing the sons and daughters of Jacob to Black people in Africa. Then it says, Have not I brought up Israel out of the land of Egypt? God is comparing his people to Black Ethiopians and Black Egyptians. Then it says, And the Philistines from Caphtor. God is comparing his people to Black Philistines. The Philistines came from the people of Mizraim, Caphtorim, Pathrusim. When you read Genesis chapter 10, these are all sons of Ham. These are all Hamitic bloodlines that the sons and daughters of Jacob intermingled with for centuries. Then it says, And the Syrians from Ker. When you read archaeological books and historians, you find out that the original Armenians, or Arameans rather, not Armenians, that's another region, sorry. The original Arameans, or the Syrians, were not Greeks that invaded during the time of the Seleucid, Ptolemaic and Alexander the Greek dynasties. No, the original Syrians were melanated people. Melanated people. They came from Aram. Aram came from Shem. So we have Afro-Shemitic people, we have Afro-Hamitic people being compared to the sons and daughters of Jacob. Now, hold on a second, y'all. Hold on one moment, y'all. So, what we're finding out, folks, is that what we're taught in modern day religion is incongruent with what's in the actual book itself. What we've been taught in modern day religion is a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof. Denying what the book actually says, y'all. This is in every Bible. This is in every Bible. Verse 8. This is Amos chapter 9, verse 8. It says, "Behold, the eyes of the Lord are upon the sinful kingdom, and I will destroy it from off the face of the earth, saving that I will not utterly destroy the house of Jacob, saith the Lord." Who said it? God said it. So we're reading here in the Bible that the eyes of the Creator is on the sinful kingdom. Now, I want you to take this into consideration right now. What nation do we know of that have passed laws to allow same homogenous interactions between men and men, women and women? What nation do we know today that has no problems with government elites being involved as PDF files? And I'm not talking about a document. The eyes of God are on the sinful kingdoms of this earth, meaning the lawless nations, those that have a form of godliness but deny the power thereof, those that profess themselves to love Jesus, but in reality, they hate obedience to the Creator. Now let's go to Jeremiah chapter 13, verse 23, because once you understand that the foundation of the Bible is not Eurocentric, then you can open your perspective to new things. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 13. Jeremiah chapter 13, verse 23. Jeremiah chapter 13, verse 23. It says, "Can the Ethiopian change his skin?" Now we know that when you travel to Africa, most people on the continent, if they're not Persian or Arab or European, they have dark skin tones, melanated skin tones. Can the Ethiopian change his skin? The answer is no. Or the leopard his spots. What color are our leopard spots? Black and brown. Do me a favor, we got a couple of people in the room. Tap the screen, get the likes up, share the room with at least 10 people, y'all. Tap the screen, get the likes up, share the room with at least 10 people. Can the Ethiopian change his skin or the leopard his spots? When you examine a leopard's spots are black or brown. There's no green spots, there's no pink spots. The spots are black or brown. Then may you also do good that are accustomed to do evil. So there's a lot of people on the earth that have done evil on the earth. And just in the same way you can't change a leopard's spots to be spotless, it's the same way you can't change those that were wicked to be righteous. You can't change a person that's melanated to become the physical features of an albino, right? So now I want y'all to think about this for a second. I want y'all to think about this for a second. Who went into the Bible and decided that it was their imperative to show all the people of the Bible as Eurocentric? The Vatican. It was the Vatican, as well as Orthodox churches, as well as Protestant churches, that worked together to always depict the people of the Bible not as Ethiopian in appearance, meaning black-faced or melanated in appearance, but to show them as Eurocentric. That is the greatest deception that has happened to Christianity on the planet. When I found out this information, it blew my mind, because this is the dagger in the heart of white supremacy and anything that resembles Eurocentric delusionalism. Because when you examine the populations of the earth, Europe and the people that are from Europe are only a tenth, less than a tenth of the global populace on the planet. Let's say allegedly that we have about 8 billion people on the planet. Out of that 8 billion, Eurocentrics only represent a tenth of that population, meaning approximately anywhere between 8 to 900 million. But yet, they dominate on your television screens. This minority group dominates on the television screens, on the magazines, on the religious icons, so much so that the rest of the planet thinks that the whole world is majority Eurocentric when it's not. When it's not. Now, to prove that the people of the Bible are black, we're going to jump down to chapter 14, and we're going to read Jeremiah chapter 14, verse 2. This is a vision that Jeremiah had concerning the famine that had impacted his people. Listen to this. Judah mourneth, and the gates thereof languish. They are black. What does the Bible say? They are black. What does the Bible say? They are black unto the ground, meaning dark, just like the soil of the earth, like we read in Genesis chapter 2 earlier, when God formed man of the dust of the ground and man became a living soul, right? We're reading here that Judah mourns. There's a famine going on. They're not able to eat food, and the gates thereof languish. They are black. The tribe of Judah, which is where we get King Solomon, King David, Jesus the Christ, they are black. Critical thinking hat. If I go to the park and I ask the question, what is the description of the family of Judah? And you say, I saw Joseph, I saw Mary, I saw Joseph, I saw Miriam, I saw Peter, I saw Jesus. And somebody asks you, what is their physical description? What do they look like? And the person responds, they are black. Can you get a Middle Eastern out of that? Can you get olive complexion out of that? Can you get the Levant region out of that? Can you get, because these are the excuses that people say, right? They say, oh no, Jesus wasn't black, he's Middle Eastern. Okay, is Middle Eastern a race? Is Middle Eastern an ethnic class? Is Middle Eastern a continent? It is not. That's just a region. This term, Middle East, was coined in 1902. So in biblical times, no one called themselves Middle Eastern. In biblical times, no one said they were from the Middle East. That's a misnomer. That's a phrase used to distract or to detract people from using their critical thinking hats, using their intelligence to say, wait a minute, we're reading about Ethiopia, that's in Africa. We're reading about Egypt, that's in Africa. We're reading about the Jews being described as black. How do you get a European out of that? I'm confused. You're telling me that we've gone to church or have been exposed to religion for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, for some people, most of their life, and your pastor never told you that the tribe of Judah, which is the root tribe where Jesus comes from, they are black? That's odd. What am I reading? Am I reading the Epic of Gilgamesh or am I reading the Bible? I'm reading the Bible. I'm reading the Bible. So we need to reevaluate what we have been taught in modern day religion because they have lied to us for centuries. Let's say you take a trip and you're traveling to Rio de Janeiro. You're on a boat and you say, "Hey, I want to enjoy myself, go to Rio de Janeiro, have a cruise with my family." And as you pull towards the docks, you see a huge 100-foot statue. And that 100-foot statue is entitled Christ the Redeemer. Christ the Redeemer. And you're looking at this statue, and then you recall the conversation that you're having with the Forefront Radio today, where we're reading out of the Bible, Jeremiah chapter 14, verse 2, Judah mourneth, and the gates thereof languish. They are black unto the ground, and the cry of Jerusalem is gone up. And you're saying to yourself, hold up, wait a minute. The Jews are black. According to this passage, this is telling me the Jews are black. So who is this image in this statue of Christ the Redeemer? This 100-foot statue that people pay money, that people pay money to go and see is not the Son of God. Where did this image come from? Where did this statue come from? How was the whole entire world led to be deceived? Let's find out. Let's go to Genesis. Let's go to Revelation. You can't get no more Bible than Revelation. It's the last book of the Bible. Let's go to Revelation chapter 12. Let's read verse 7. It says, "And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels and prevailed not. Neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, called the devil and Satan, that old serpent, which deceives the whole world." What does the Bible say? Which deceives the whole world. Which deceives the whole world. The whole world is deceived, y'all. According to what we're reading in the Bible, the whole entire planet is deceived. What makes us think religion is excluded from that deception? What makes us think politics is excluded from that deception? What makes us think scientific alleged discoveries and theories are excluded from that deception? What makes us think that our education systems, our banking industries, our military, and our worldviews are not filled with deception? I want us to think about that for a second, because the Messiah himself, Jesus himself, said something in the Bible that most pastors and most religious people ignore. Let's read it. Let's go to Matthew chapter 24. Matthew chapter 24. Matthew chapter 24. And let's start at verse 3. "And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, The disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of your coming and of the end of the world? And Jesus answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you. Take heed that no man deceive you. So wait a minute. We read in Revelation 12 that the devil deceives the whole world. Now we're reading out of the mouth of Christ that man is coming to deceive. So that means there's a particular man on the earth that's influenced by Satan to push deception on the earth. Now, if I read in the Bible, Job chapter 9, verse 24, that says, The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covers the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? Then I have to ask the question, okay, who's ruling the Vatican? Remember, the Bible says the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. Who's ruling the Vatican? The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. Who's ruling the United States? The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. Who's ruling Russia? The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. Who's ruling the World Bank or the International Monetary Fund? These are just questions. I'm not giving any answers. I'm just asking questions to say, let's think about this for a second. The statement is, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covers the faces of the judges thereof. Meaning what? The ultimate judge of the Bible is Jesus Christ. The prophets and leaders and teachers like Moses, Isaiah, these men were all made judges over the people, prophets over the people. Who covered their faces? Who made their faces no longer black or melanated, but now said, these faces, when you look at these prophets and angels and gods, these are all Renaissance iconography, Renaissance images. Who covered their faces? Jesus said himself, Take heed that no man deceive you. Centuries later, you have Roman Christianity. Roman Christianity was formulated after all of the priests, all of the prophets, all of the Hebrews of Afro-Hebraic lineage were killed and destroyed. Like they like to say on the internet, unalived, deleted. So you're telling me around 300 AD, 300 years after Christ, a new religion was founded, and it intermixed Roman beliefs, Roman structure, Roman holidays, Roman way of life, and nobody stops to ask the question to say, why are we doing this? Why are we doing things that are not in the Bible? Why are we celebrating traditions that are not in the Bible? Why are we worshiping images that are not in the Bible? Why are we looking at God and saying, God looks like Rome? God looks like Zeus. God looks like Aphrodite. God looks like this. And we worship the beast and his image. Watch this. Verse 5. Matthew chapter 24, verse 5. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been deceived. We have been deceived by prejudice. We have been deceived on the origin of Black people. The image of Black people has been distorted by prejudice, by misrepresentation, by lectures and sermons where they state that all of these people come from Ham. Now, I want you to think about this for a second. Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Who told you that Shem was Asia, that Japheth was Europe, and that Ham was Africa? Who taught us that? How can three suns be three separate regional continents? That doesn't even make logical sense. I gave birth to three sons. My sons all come from me. Will one look Asiatic, one look Africoid, and one look Eurocentric Caucasian? Does that even make sense to you? Coming from one father, three progeny, three children, all having different features, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But this is what they taught us in religion. They said Ham, all black people come from Ham, except the Negroes. That's not true. Shem was black. Japheth was black. Ham was black. They state that Ham was cursed by his father Noah. But when you read the Bible in Genesis chapter 9, verse 20 to 27, it says that Canaan, not Ham, Canaan, not Ham, Canaan was the one that was cursed, not Ham, not a whole entire lineage of people. Listen, folks. Ham had 7 sons, 7 tribes. Genesis chapter 10, verse 6 tells us he had Cush. That's Sudan, that's Ethiopia. Cush had 8 sons, according to Genesis chapter 10, verse 8. And according to the Zondervan Bible Dictionary, so-called Negroes are not from Ham. They are from Shem. The people that you call black in the Americas, they're Shemites. They're not even Hamitic. They're Afro-Shemitic. Y'all understand that? Now, when you read Genesis chapter 10, we find out that Cush begat Nimrod. This shows us that the founding civilization of the Bible started with black men. Watch this. Let's go to Genesis chapter 10. The founding civilization started with melanated people, y'all. And archaeologists, the History Channel, National Geographic will try to hide this information from us. Genesis chapter 10, let's start at verse 6. And the sons of Ham, Cush. Cush is where we get so-called Sudan, right? Cush is where we get Nubia. Cush is where we get Ethiopia, the Congo region, West Africa. And Mizraim. Mizraim is where we get Egypt. And Phut, that's Libya. And Canaan, that's the land of Palestine, all the way to where the Canaanites were spread abroad. Lebanon, Syria, Hamath, Babel. Watch this. And the sons of Cush, Seba, and Havilah, and Sabta, and Rama, and Sabteka, and the sons of Rama, Sheba, and Dedan. That's 8. That's 8 sons. So 4 from Ham, right? Cush, Mizraim, Phut, Canaan. 8 from Cush. So 8 divisions of children from Cush. And Cush begat Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one in the earth. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Therefore it is said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord. And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel. Babel is where we get the term Babylon. And Erech. Erech is where we get the modern term Iraq. Erech, Iraq. Erech, Iraq. So hold on a second. Forefront, you're telling me that ancient civilizations like the Akkadians, like the people of the Iraq region, like the people of Babel, were not Persians, were not Arabs or Ottoman Turks, but actually black Cushites? That's what we're reading in the Bible. That's what we're reading in the Bible. Watch this. It says, Babel and Iraq and Akkad Akkad is where we get the people that's called the Akkadians. And Calneh in the land of Shinar, in the land of Shinar, in the land of Shinar. So Cush begat Nimrod, who founded Babel, aka Samaria. So the ancient Sumerians were what? Black people. So when you read Genesis chapter 10 now, from 6 through 11, you find out that Canaan had 7 sons. Okay, watch this. Canaan had 7 sons. Let's jump down. Verse 11. No, it says, verse 10, and the beginning of his kingdom was Babel and Erech and Akkad and Calneh in the land of Shinar, in the land of Shinar. Out of that land went forth Ashur. Now, when you look up the Hebrew word Ashakor, the word Ashakor literally means black. The word Ashakor literally means black. The Hebrew term Ashakor means black. So the Assyrians are black people. The Babylonians are black people. The Hebrews are black people, y'all. The Canaanites are black people. Watch this. It says, and builded Nineveh, and the city Rehoboth and Calneh. Who remembers the story of Jonah, where Jonah was told to go preach in Nineveh? He wasn't preaching to the Ninevites and the Assyrians. He was preaching to his people, because his people were taken as captives or slaves by the Assyrians, taken away from Northeast Africa, Jerusalem region, taken out of Egypt, and then scattered into the regions of Mesopotamia, Nineveh, Turkey, Iran, Iraq. Even to this day, there's a group of black people that are called Afro-Iraqi, Afro-Afghanistani, Afro-Indian. You understand? These are all melanated groups that are marginalized people that history ignores completely. Y'all, we're reading Black history in the Bible. You're telling me your Sunday school preacher never read this? No, they skipped over it. They found it to be irrelevant. They made statements like, what's your point? What's your agenda? What are you trying to push? You understand? That's how they felt about this information, even though it's in Genesis, the foundation of the Bible. The foundation of the Bible, y'all. Y'all understand? Let's go to Micah chapter 5, verse 6. Let's go to Micah chapter 5, verse 6. Let's go to Micah chapter 5, verse 6. We're reading Black history in the Bible, and pastors refuse to acknowledge it. That means there's an agenda to withhold information from the people. Micah chapter 5, verse 6, it says, and they shall waste the land of Assyria with the sword, and the land of Nimrod, and the land of Nimrod. Remember, Nimrod was the son of Cush. So Assyria is not the land of the modern day Ottoman Turks today, but it belonged to who? It was called the land of Nimrod, who's the son of Cush, who's the son of Ham. Everybody understand that? Is anybody confused? It says, and they shall waste the land of Assyria with the sword, meaning war is going to come in to destroy part of Assyria, and the land of Nimrod in the entrances thereof. Thus shall he deliver us from the Assyrian when he comes into our land, and when he treads within our borders. So this is going into the history of judgment on the heads of Jacob and what happened during the Assyrian captivity and the Babylonian captivity. That afterward, the inhabitants of Babylon would be invaded by the Persians. This is all biblical prophecy, y'all. This is all biblical prophecy. So now, with that understanding, y'all, I want us to take this into consideration. Canaan had 7 sons, which are the modern day Canaanites, the Phoenicians, the Zidonians, the Tyrians. we find out that Black history is throughout the Bible and that the Black man is the father of civilization. Let's go to Daniel chapter 5. Let's read verse 1 to 31. Let's read the whole chapter. Let's read Daniel chapter 5. Belshazzar the king made a great feast to 1,000 of his lords and drank wine before the thousands. Belshazzar, whilst he tasted the wine, commanded to bring the golden and silver vessels which his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken out of the temple which was in Jerusalem. And the king and his princes, wives, and his concubines might drink therein. So this was the highest form of disrespect, for you to take vessels from another deity's house of worship to now exhort yourself and exhort your gods before these people. This was an act of defiance towards the God. To give you a perspective, if you're from America, think about if somebody from, let's say somebody from Russia came in, took relics out of your churches and museums, and sat on the White House lawn on a lawn chair and started sipping margaritas out of, like, let's say your great grandfather's cup that he had back in the day. You would find it as a form of disrespect. So this is what they're doing. They're exalting themselves and saying, we conquered and civilized these Black Jews by oppressing them. Now we're going to drink out of the vessels, the cups, the utensils that they had in their temple, and give it to our women and give it to our children and our concubines, and let them drink and have fun. Watch this, verse 3. Then they brought the golden vessels that were taken out of the temple of the house of Elohim, which was at Jerusalem. And the king and his princes, meaning his sons, his wives, and his concubines, drank in them. They drank wine and praised the gods of gold and silver and brass and of iron and of wood and of stone. So they were praising their idols. They were giving glory to their idols, idols of stone, idols of gold, the various deities that they worshiped in Babylon. These are the idols that many Cushites still serve today. Watch this. In the same hour came forth fingers of a man's hand and wrote over against the candlestick upon the plaster of the wall of the king's palace. And the king saw the part of the hand that had wrote. So he's like, hold up, wait a minute. Am I drinking too much alcohol? Am I literally seeing a floating hand etching its fingertips into the wall? I don't know about y'all, but if I saw that, I would have started running. I don't know about y'all, but if I saw a floating hand starting to etch its fingers into the wall and start to inscribe words into the wall, I would have been scared out of my mind, y'all. You understand? You have to picture this in your mind. So imagine a huge black hand floating to your wall and etching itself into the plaster of the wall and writing something. Verse 6. And the king's countenance was troubled, was changed, and his thoughts troubled him, so that the joints of his loins were loosed, and his knees smote one against another. Meaning what? He was so shooken. He was so afraid that his knees started to kick itself. His knees started to knock against each other. He wet himself. You understand? All his loins were loose. You understand? Look under that robe and it's wet all over the place. You understand? That's what we're reading here. He could not stand. He was so afraid that his knees started to buckle and shake against itself. You know how, like, you're in the middle of the cold and it's winter and you're trying to hold yourself together and your knees start to shake against itself? This man was experiencing that, but out of fear. This is greater than a Hollywood movie, y'all. This is ultimate prime time movie stuff right here. horror movie and all. Verse 7, the king cried aloud to bring in the astrologers, the Chaldeans, the soothsayers. So he's screaming at the top of his lungs, get me my meteorologists, get my scientists, get my wise men, get my astrologers, get all of these people that make predictions, all the tarot card readers. Don't you see people that do that all over YouTube and TikTok and stuff? People that proclaim they can tell the future and all that stuff. That's what he was doing. Get my scientists. Get these doomsday people that say that Three-Eye Atlas is going to come and crash on the earth. Get all of them. Get all these tarot card readers and astrological sign people and all of that stuff. Give me a meteorologist. Give me something. Give me somebody to tell me why this is going on. And the king spake, and he said to the wise men of Babylon, whosoever shall read this writing and show me the interpretation thereof shall be clothed with scarlet and have a chain of gold about his neck, and shall be a third ruler in the kingdom. So he said, look, if you're able to interpret this thing, I'm going to make you a president. That's what a president is, someone that presides over the kingdom. That shows you that even right now, although we have prime ministers, although we have presidents and all of these things, they're not really ruling. They're just placeholders for the global elite that sit behind the scenes. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. Let's read on. It says, verse 8, then came in all the king's wise men, but they could not read the writing, nor make known the king the interpretation thereof. Then was King Belshazzar greatly troubled, and his countenance was changed in him, and his lords were astonished. So this black king is shocked. This black king is amazed. This black Cushitic Babylonian is upset that they can't tell him what the interpretation of this dream is. He's like, look, of this vision. He's like, look, the writing is right there on the wall. Just explain it to me. Now the queen, by reason of the words of the king and his lords, came into the banquet house. And the queen spake and said, O king, live forever. Let not your thoughts trouble you, nor let your face be changed. There is a man in thy kingdom, in whom spirit the holy gods, and the days of thy father, and in the days of your father, light and understanding and wisdom like the wisdom of the gods was found in him, whom King Nebuchadnezzar, thy father, the king, I say thy father, made master of the magicians, astrologers, Chaldeans, and soothsayers, for as much as an excellent spirit and knowledge and understanding, interpreting of dreams, and showing of hard sentences, and dissolving of doubts, were found in the same Daniel, whom the king named Belteshazzar. So now I want you to think about this for a second. Just in the same way where blacks in the Americas were used for their intellect, their understanding, their knowledge, their guidance on the sciences, right? Their understanding of the agricultural sector, their understanding of the construction sector, the building up of civilizations, their names were changed. This was the same way Daniel, who was held as a slave in Babylon by black Cushites, was now held in high esteem, and his name was changed. He went from being a lowly slave to now being one of the headmasters over the magi, over the magicians, the astrologers, the soothsayers, because Daniel could interpret dreams, he could interpret visions, and he was full of wisdom and knowledge and science. Okay, watch this, verse 13. Then was Daniel brought in before the king, and the king spake and said unto Daniel, Art thou that Daniel, which art of the children of the captivity of Judah, whom the king my father brought out of Jewry. So wait a minute, hold on a second. We're reading here that Daniel was from the lineage of the tribes of Judah, the kingdom of Judah. Can somebody write in the chat what was the physical description? What Bible verse did we go to that gave the physical description of the tribe of Judah? If you remember it, write it in the chat. If you don't remember it, I'll give you the answer. If you remember it, write it in the chat. It was Jeremiah chapter 14, verse 2. Jeremiah chapter 14, verse 2 gives us the physical description of what Jesus, King Solomon, and Daniel looked like. Judah mourneth, and the gates thereof languish. They are black. The tribe of Judah, they are black. The lineage of the Jews, they are black. The kingdom of Judah, they are black. King Solomon, they are black. David, they are black. Jesus, they are black. Moses, they are black unto the ground, meaning just like the deep, dark, rich soil of the earth, the Jews are black. It says, Judah mourneth, and the gates thereof languish. They are black unto the ground, and the cry of Jerusalem is gone up. You're telling me your Christian pastor skipped this verse? You're telling me the Christian pastor skipped this verse in Sunday school? You're telling me the Christian pastor never read this in the Bible? They read it and ignored it. So let's go back. Daniel chapter 5, verse 13. Then was Daniel brought in before the king, and the king spake and said unto Daniel, Art thou that Daniel, which are the children of the captivity of Judah? What's another word for captivity, folks? Slavery. The tribe of Judah was led into captivity, aka slavery. So all the people all across the planet know for a fact that a specific demographic was taken across the planet in captivity, but they failed to acknowledge them as the Jews, even though they are black. I'm trying to help you put two and two together. How is there a group of people that are called a color in a crayon box? They are black. They went into captivity, but people refuse to call them Judah, Benjamin, Levi, Ephraim, Manasseh, their actual tribe. They would rather call them a continent than call them their bloodline of their family. They'll say statements like, you're an American citizen, you're a European citizen, you're an Asiatic citizen, you're an African citizen. But these are all continents, geographical locations, and not bloodlines. We're reading the Bible. That's all we're doing. We're reading the Bible and asking questions. So now, the first black president, was it Obama? Or can we read in the Bible the real first black president? So as you continue in the chapter 5 of Daniel chapter 5, you find out that Daniel was able to give the interpretation of the dream, and he explains the dream to say, look, the Persians are going to come in and they're going to destroy the kingdom of Babylon. That's the interpretation that God gave to Daniel, who came with the captivity of Judah. Now watch chapter 6. Listen to what chapter 6 says. Daniel chapter 6, verse 1. It pleased Darius to set over the kingdom 120 provinces, which should be over the whole kingdom. Over these three presidents, of whom Daniel was first. So Daniel was the first black president in ancient Persian Empire, in ancient Babylonian Empire. You understand? The first black president was not Barack Obama. The first black president to preside over a kingdom was Daniel. He was one of three presidents established by King Darius. Darius was a Mede. He was from the lineage of Madai, which is Japheth. Okay, so now let's go to Esther chapter 1, verse 1, and let's prove to you based on Esther chapter 1 that not only were the Jews considered to be black, but the kingdom of its reign was from Africa all the way to Ethiopia. Shalom to you. Hope you're doing all right. Let's go to Esther chapter 1, verse 1. Let's go to Esther chapter 1, verse 1. Listen to this. Esther chapter 1, verse 1. It says, "And it came to pass in the days of Ahasuerus," this Ahasuerus, this is Artaxerxes, a historical figure. A historical figure. This Ahasuerus, which reigned from India even to Ethiopia, from India even to Ethiopia, from India even to Ethiopia. So the whole entire geographical region from Africa to Ethiopia shows us the territories that he had rulership over. This is all melanated people, y'all. Daniel was able to preside over these 170 and 127 provinces of the kingdom of the Persians, the kingdom of the Babylonians, from Africa to Asia, y'all. So this is a Jew that's presiding over Africa to Asia. Y'all, the black man is the father of civilization. We've never been taught that in church, y'all. We've never been taught that. Thank y'all for listening to The Forefront Radio. I'm your host, Afia Levi Israel. If you enjoy the information presented here, feel free to subscribe here on YouTube. Thank y'all for listening. This is just one out of many discussions that we'll have on this topic. May the Most High bless you and keep you and cause his face to shine upon you all.